Welcome! We're going to be talking about session recordings, how to use them, where they are, where do you find them inside of PostHog. We're also going to be talking about Microsoft Clarity. Okay, so this is something where it's going to talk about session recordings in general. First layer of application, PostHog. Second layer of application, Microsoft Clarity. Before we dive into like the button pushing, where do you look? I want to talk about why you even use session recordings. This is a very hot debated topic. Marketers are like, I need to watch them all. Product people are like, I need to know how they're using my product. Ideally, you can look at the events and you can see the majority of the story there. I'm talking 95% of the story if your event naming is done correctly. Most people don't do it correctly and then fall back on session recordings. So that's, I'd say, why. There are a few edge cases where you're trying to do error tracking or bug tracking. You're like, why do they keep smashing this button? But again, most of those things can be handled with adequate event tracking. When you record sessions, when you first start turning on the session recordings, you think you need everything. You want to record 100% of sessions, 100% of the time, every time, all the time. What you will soon realize, I promise you'll realize this, is that most people never use them. I myself basically just watch session recordings of people who fill out contact forms, people who log in, people who use these things, and I do this all the time. Our team does it all the time. So we create segments and filters and do these, and you end up watching like 1% of all session recordings. And then when you hear that session recordings expire after 90 days or 1 year or 2 years, depending on the plan that you're on, that is what you start freaking out and you say, I need to go buy more storage or do something. Don't worry, we're going to walk through extensively how you can think about this. The last thing I want to just propose to you is when should you record? When do you start recording? When do you stop recording? When do you utilize recordings where events fall short? Let's talk about the product pricing here. Within PostHog, this is something that is always so confusing. The transparency makes it confusing, okay? So you get 5,000 for free. So 5,000 session recordings you get for free. That is approximately $0 if you're paying attention. Then if you have, let's just double that and go 10,000 sessions, you're gonna be about $25. If you double that to 20,000 sessions, you're at like $60, I think. And if you double that to 40,000, right, then you're about $150, give or take, 125, 150. That is how I think about it. It does start to get expensive after that, right? Like, yes, every incremental recording becomes cheaper, but for $200, you get about like 60,000 recordings. I think that's where we sit. That's not the right math. You get the idea. 60,000 recordings is $200. That's the back of the envelope math. That's how I think about it. Not crazy at the end of the world. Now, where do you look at session recordings inside of PostHog? There are two ways of doing this. We are inside of our Vision Labs PostHog. If you're on our site, visionlabs.com/thehog, go check it out if you are not there right now. Okay, so go check that out. You'll show up in this dashboard. Amazing. So here we are. The most way people that do this is you have some sort of scorecard or timeline or thing where you click on. This is probably a bad example because we have form submits, but you might have new start trials or maybe a meta ad trial starts. You click on this and you will open up a really useless list of users. This is all blurred out for you, but here is a list of everybody who has filled out our forms. I don't know why they do this. This is very useless because I don't know how this is sorted. I don't know why this is here. This is what happens. Okay, so this little scorecard turns into this big thing. But if you hold Command on your Mac, if you're using a PC, I don't know what the button is, and you click on one of these, it will open up in a new tab on that person profile. We now can see, hey, this person has this properties, this person has these events, this person has, guess what, these recordings, okay? So by default, you only look at a certain period of time, and you might be beyond that period of time, right? Recordings only last, I believe, 90 days for if you are on a pay-as-you-go plan. You can have them roll back quicker. You can change a lot of things. That is, in general, what you're looking at. But it tells you right here all the recordings. So if you click on the 4 recordings, it will tell you, hey, here are the 4 recordings. Let's go watch one of them. And you can click on it, and then you can say, hey, here this person is navigating through our site, right? They went through all of our little resources, clicked on the buttons, downloaded the things, did the widget, bada bing, bada boom. You can see them going and downloading everything there. There's a great use case of using recordings, right? Like, hey, I wanted to see, are they a power user? Most of the time, events can sort that. Cool. The other way, which is a way that most people don't use, and you should definitely access them this way, is you go down here to the little behavior section called Session Replay. If you're not familiar with finding this, and if you have never accessed it before, I think it might be under, if you go to All Apps as well, and then you can click on Session Replays. I think it's always here. We're like a beta tester of trying things out, so here you go. Then you have these collections. They're default collections. I don't think you can modify these collections. I haven't seen how. I can't see where. If someone knows how to do that, let me know. But this is really nice. You have your watch history of those session recordings you just watched. If I click on this, it will show you the session recording I just watched. All the recordings with comments. So if you or your team are leaving comments on session recordings of, yo, this makes no sense. What person did this on the design? Or the UI, or whatever else. We also have all shared recordings. So if you shared that with someone else, or you wanted to share it there, or you exported the recordings, or if they're about to expire soon, right? That is super helpful, right? It's very helpful, and it's very, very hidden. So just there. Quick interruption here. If you want our team to audit your PostHog implementation or build you a roadmap, go to visionlabs.com/thehog, and our team will be able to do that. It is $95 right now. I don't know how long we'll be able to do that for, but feel free to go to visionlabs.com/thehog. We will audit your existing setup. We'll create some an event-based structure for you, and you will be sailing off into the sunset with your little hedgehog aboard. So visionlabs.com/thehog. Otherwise, you can go to all recordings and you can filter through here. Okay. The biggest problem that most people have here is that you blow through your session recordings. Most people that we work with are hitting 5,000 sessions within the first few days of the billing resetting. How do you change that? Where do you go? You hippity hop over to settings. You then drop on down into where it says recordings, which I will find under session replay. And then here is where you can change on what you're doing. So here, record user sessions, toggle that baddie on. Now you get access to all these things. Next, do you want to capture logs? I would say yes, but some people don't want to do that. It's up to you. We can then have capture canvas elements. You can turn on, you can turn off. It tells you here it only applies to web, really there. So here you go. It is what it is. Then you can come down here and you can say this is where things start to get spicy, right? Is when do you want to start the session recording? This took QA and testing to figure out. Are you starting the session recording and retroing it back? So if I viewed the home page, then I viewed the pricing page, and I start this session recording on the pricing page, what happens? We don't want to talk about that. So your session recording starts when it hits these things. We have a customer that does a lot of Q4 testing, right? They run through a lot of tests in Q4 on the holidays and things like that. They want to start session recordings, use all of their session recordings, their whole budget, like $200 on a particular page. When they hit this page of a start of the sign up flow, they want to start. So you can hit in here, add when the ratch is this, bada bing, bada boom. You can say, hey, when it's website.com. For us, let's just do visionlabs.com/contact, right? That would be it. Really, really important is make sure that you include URL parameters, because if you don't, it will match it exact. So you can put in here you can put like .star at the end if you hit anything that contains contact. That's usually my go-to, depending on your URL site structure. I know I'd like to start on anything that has contact. So there you go. You can also hit this little baddie that has generate regex. I've had mixed reviews. Sometimes it comes with the regex. It's so complicated I can't even read it. So that's my very, very simple start there. It is regex contains by default. There you go. So then you can also start by an event, right? So when an event happens, you can also do it using a feature flag. It just depends on what you're trying to do. The biggest, easiest savings here is you just put the sampling down here at like 50%, where you sample 1 out of 2 sessions, you are sampling automatically. So if you do hit those limits very fast and you want to have some nuance around like getting it over the whole month, try these things out. And I would also recommend your minimum session duration being at least 5 seconds. It just really is straightforward, really simple, and then you can keep out any of the bot traffic people who hit the site and leave. You know those people that they go. Okay. There is the quick and dirty overview. I'm not going to dive into any super nuances, but you now know how to use them, where they are, and also the location of how to modify them there. Let's talk about our good old friend, Microsoft Clarity. So this is Microsoft Clarity. It is the Microsoft version of Google Analytics, basically. It's just focused more on session recordings. That's the TLDR. So what you can do, and I made a little diagram for you here, is we can take the PostHog Session ID and we can take the Microsoft User ID and we can use PostHog to send the ID to Microsoft. I'm not going to show you how to do that. There's a million ways to do that. You can use the SDK. You can use Google Tag Manager, which is our recommended method, is that you deploy Clarity using Google Tag Manager. And then you can use Google Tag Manager, listen for the session ID from PostHog. Bob's your uncle. You're off to the races. Okay. Now that you understand that, the idea is that you could then find the same session ID in PostHog. It'd be the same user ID inside Microsoft Clarity. And now you have unlimited session recordings, right? You don't have to worry about your $200 limit, your $500 limit, your $1,000 limit. Microsoft Clarity records all sessions. Let me show you what that looks like. So if you hop into your dashboard, not a big fan. It's very fluffy, very roundy. Not a big roundy person. Here, if you hit recordings, you can then see, here are all the recordings in the last 3 days. You can use their segments to dive deep, right? So they filter out the wazoo. So you want to dive day of the week, the PC, the mobile, the tablet, operating system, people who use rage clicks or dead clicks or extensive scrolling, any of these things you can utilize to filter down to only the session recordings you want. People coming in from ChatGPT, people coming in who have poor performance, you name it, they've probably got a filter defaulted for you. And if you'd like to, you could always double check and send an event into Clarity if you would like. So here's what that looks like. Let me find one that has a little bit more. Go back. This person right here has five clicks. They've typed in it wrong. But what you can do is hit play. And then now you can see they landed at the incorrect thing, the incorrect page. They hit our 404 page. They then went through and they eventually got to where they were trying to go. And they viewed our team and they were off to the races. So that is pretty much what it is, right? So now you have session recordings the same way that you would have them other places. You can then see, like, there's different types of views. I'm not trying to tell you exactly what you should or shouldn't do, but if your problem is that you keep hitting the limit inside of your session recordings inside of PostHog, or if you keep blowing through them and you want to just have a little safe haven somewhere else, install Microsoft Clarity, use it in conjunction with PostHog, and Bob's your uncle, you're good to go. The last place we are going to talk about this is using them in notebooks. You can use notebooks to then store session recordings. If you put a session recording inside a notebook, it extends the length of those people. You are allowed to then do that, and then once they're in a notebook, it's like an intended or a downloaded session recording, and you can use them. So really, really helpful to do. You can see here we have session recordings about those high intent articles, our top web analytics 8 page. You can see here all of these different recordings are inside of a notebook. That's another use case for them. Really, really helpful if you do use notebooks in PostHog to build spec docs or hypotheses or build your next experiment. I hope this was helpful. I hope you found what you needed, and I'll see you in the next one.